Hi, Chris Farco with the Calgary Herald. This is a question for Minister Jean. Minister Jean, has Alberta's concerns been addressed on federal energy policy that you disagree with? Specifically, I'm thinking Bill C-59, which you just referenced, the CER, and the cap on emissions on the oil and gas industry.
Well, I believe it's been listened to. We have a situation where we have a piece of legislation that's brought forward that is creating a barrier and creating uncertainty and unpredictability. It's going to increase cost, obviously, as it does, and this is a very competitive environment. So, this is an opportunity to have conversations to deal with it directly, and we have. We've dealt with it directly in relation to Minister Wilkinson, and he'll carry that message back. But we want to make sure that our industry remains competitive, because all Canadians need oil and gas, and making it uncompetitive and taking a situation that people are afraid to speak the truth and to talk about their products, I think is not a good thing for the people of Canada.
Just to follow up, what were your conversations specifically, if there were any, about the emissions cap on the oil and gas industry? And Minister Wilkinson, I don't know that you've had a chance to have this conversation directly with either of the ministers here, but what has your message been to them about what changes the federal government is going to make or might make about the cap?
So maybe I can just broaden it a little bit back to the three different things. I mean, certainly I have heard from the ministers in Alberta. And with respect to C-59, I mean, I think it's entirely legitimate for the sector to be asking for the guidance with respect to methodology, and that is something that the Competition Bureau needs to provide, and it needs to provide it soon so that people actually understand the starting gates. At the end of the day, I think once that's done, this will be perhaps a bit of a different conversation. I would expect that the guidance will be something like that folks simply have to have a good faith basis to believe what they're saying. And assuming that's true, I think the sector probably will calm down, but I certainly believe that we need to provide that guidance, and that's important. On the CER, we did certainly have lots of conversations around electricity. I think where we all agree is that the path forward for the CER and for work on the grid more generally has to be done in a manner that we achieve a grid that is affordable, that is reliable, and that ultimately is non-emitting. And the issue there is trying to find the right landing zone in terms of the pace of change and the nature of the supports that may be provided to do that. And that is something certainly that I am having active conversations with my colleagues in Ottawa, and it was very helpful to have feedback from not only Alberta, but from other provinces that also have thoughts, views, and concerns. And on the emissions cap, I wouldn't say that we spent a lot of time on that. I recognize that the government of Alberta has a strong view on that. At the end of the day, it is part of Canada's climate plan. We do need to find pathways through which we reduce emissions in every sector of the economy, but we need to be thoughtful about that. It is not intended to be a production cap. It is intended to be a tool to reduce emissions. The bulk of those emissions actually come from methane reductions, on something that I don't think there's a huge amount of disagreement with respect to that. And the rest of it largely comes from reductions with respect to pathways. And we are all in on working with pathways on CCUS. We have committed an investment tax credit that will pay for almost half of the capital associated with this project. So recognize, it's important to recognize where we don't agree, and on the cap, we probably don't agree. But I also think that we had some good conversations about how you actually do this, and that you do it in a manner that is thoughtful and actually not simply something that is aimed in a way that's going to actually hurt the Canadian economy. Nobody has an interest in doing that.
And Chris, you're right, we don't agree. We've had some great decisions by the Supreme Court of Canada that have confirmed our position in Alberta, and we believe that this is unconstitutional and is a production cap, and we're going to deal with that where we have to deal with that. But the truth is that we're a family, and we're always going to have disagreements, and that's just the way families are. But we need to move forward together to make our family stronger and better, especially because we have an opportunity to lead the world on this particular file. And if we work together with the provinces, with the territories, and with the federal government, we will.
Thank you.